Good morning. I'm Scott Finley, and I will be your service coordinator on this cool, cloudy fall morning. Jesse's our Zoom host, and Sandy's at GNUUC lighting candles today. We are glad you're with us today. If you are a visitor, we are especially happy to see you. Please visit nashvilleuu.org/guestbook to sign up for our newsletter. As Sandy lights our chalice at GNUUC, today's chalice lighting words come from the Portuguese UU Fellowship via the International Council of Unitarian Universalists. We light this chalice as a symbol of faith, hope, and love. To face the shadows, a chalice of light. To face iniquity, a chalice of justice. To face falsehood, a chalice of truth. To face evil, a chalice of goodness. To face disharmony, a chalice of beauty. May your brightness, manifestation of the infinite light, bless our hearts, our spirits, and our lives. Although we are still physically distancing, know that GNUUC is here to support you. Reach out to our minister, Reverend Cynthia Cain, by email at cyncain@gnuuc.org or by cell phone 859-221-3034. The Free Church tradition, of which we are a part, does not offer up a creed or a certain set of beliefs that everyone must accept in order to belong to the community. Instead, the boundaries of our community are determined by commitment and participation. Our central question is not, what do we believe, but rather, what values will we uphold and how will we do this together? Our covenant, the promises we make to each other, is at the heart of what it means to be a Unitarian Universalist. Please feel free to recite the covenant with me. We covenant together to make a welcoming community, to walk together in the way of truth and love, to seek the life of the Spirit as it is known by each person, to support each other in thought, word, and deed as we work to build a better world. And now please sing along to The Earth is Our Mother.
The earth is our mother, we must take care of her. The earth is our mother, we must take care of her. Hey yana ho yana, hey yan yan. Hey yana ho yana, hey yan yan. Her sacred ground we walk upon, with every step we take. Her sacred ground we walk upon, with every step we take. Hey yana ho yana, hey yan yan. Hey yana ho yana, hey yan yan. The earth is our mother, she will take care of us. The earth is our mother, she will take care of us. Hey yana ho yana, hey yan yan. Hey yana ho yana, hey yan yan. The earth is our mother, we must take care of her. The earth is our mother, we must take care of her. Hey yana ho yana, hey yan yan. Hey yana ho yana, hey yan yan. Her sacred ground we walk upon, with every step we take. Her sacred ground we walk upon, with every step we take. Hey yana ho yana, hey yan yan. Hey yana ho yana, hey yan yan. The earth is our mother, she will take care of us. The earth is our mother, she will take care of us. Hey yana ho yana, hey yan yan. Hey yana ho
song that's meant for kids. And it's an Indigenous Peoples Day song. And you may have heard about this, but what is happening in many places in the United States is a change. And what it is that what used to be called Columbus Day in the first week of October is being changed to Indigenous Peoples Day. As we learn more and as we really already knew it, but as we acknowledge the truth of Indigenous people, we see that Columbus was not a good guy. He was a bad guy in many ways, as were many of the early uh, occupiers of this land. Why were they bad? There's a lot to learn about it, but one of the things we know for sure is that they caused great harm to the Indigenous people. Indigenous means those who were first here, those who were here when the land first began. And in the United States or in America, the Indigenous people are also sometimes called Native Americans. They themselves now call themselves Indians. And the changing of Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day matters. It was a national holiday. I think it still is. So it's a big deal that it's acknowledged. And several states have actually made a proclamation. And later on, you're going to meet a friend of mine who, all by herself, has convinced cities and even the state that she and I live in, Kentucky, to declare Indigenous Peoples Day. So enjoy this song and the sign language that you'll see going on during this song.
One earth, one people, one love. 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 Welcome back to Mr. Harold's music class. We used to celebrate Columbus Day, but now we celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day. First off, let's define indigenous, the native people, original inhabitants, living on every single continent. Then somebody shows up and says, I discovered it. How can you discover somewhere already found, or take credit for a place that's already around, like Hernan Cortez or Hernando de Soto, Ponce de Leon or Francisco Pizarro? It all started with Christopher Columbus, Europe's obsession with Western discovering. With big dreams, this wild and Italian was searching for gold in the East Indies Islands. Long ago, 1492, we all know the story, he sailed the ocean blue. But here's what I didn't learn in school. After landing in the Bahamas, he treated people cruel. The Tainos are peaceful people in Cuba, Haiti, DR, Jamaica, Puerto Rico. Even though they welcomed him with open arms, he committed genocide and unspeakable evil. I wish that's where the story ends, but colonization is a sickness that spreads. Speaking of sickness, literal diseases, smallpox, chickenpox, and measles. I wonder how history would change if explorers were peaceful when they came, learned native customs, cultural exchange, didn't force religion and no one was enslaved. Aztecs, Incas might have lived longer, from South America to Canadian borders. Cherokee, Sioux, Apache, and Navajo, Iroquois, Chippewa, Choctaw, Pueblo. The list goes on. So many tribes, so many stories, so many lives. Show love to the indigenous ones, from ancestors to those still alive. Sing! One earth, one people, one love. 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 So thank you for watching Mr. Harold's music class. Until next time, peace, love, and shabam.
Our Share the Plate organization this month is Room in the Inn. As you know, the pandemic will be increasing homelessness and threatening the health of the homeless. Room in the Inn can use our financial support all the more this year. There are 3 ways you can donate. At NashvilleUU.org, click Donate and choose the account Share the Plate or Pledge. Text 615-246-5553 in amount plus the account. As an example, text $20 share to give to Share the Plate, or text $50 pledge to contribute to your pledge. Or you can mail a check to GNUUC at 374 Hicks Road, Nashville, Tennessee 37221. Please add in the memo either pledge or Share the Plate.
For today's meditation, we'll start with a brief guided meditation or image by a person of Native American ancestry, and it gives us kind of a basis to start from when we want to start considering deeply the plight of Indigenous people. And I found it really helpful. After that, there'll be a few moments of silence, and then we'll move to a chant that we probably know, and Ancient Mother. We have had it in our hymnal for quite some time.
A question I frequently get asked is, how does it feel to be Native American and still be a citizen of the United States of America? I often tell people that it feels like our Native community is an old grandmother who has a very large and a very beautiful house. And years ago, some people came into our house and they locked us upstairs in the bedroom. Today, our house is full of people. They're sitting on our furniture, they're eating our food, they're having a party in our house. They've even come upstairs and unlocked the door to our bedroom, but it's much later. And we're tired, we're old, we're weak, and we're sick. And so we can't or we don't come out. But the thing that is the most painful is that virtually nobody comes upstairs to find the grandmother in the bedroom. Nobody sits down next to us on the bed and simply says, thank you. Thank you for letting us be in your house.
Calling,
So we start with a question. We are Unitarian Universalists. Always start with a question. Thought I became a UU when I was a sophomore, junior in high school, and I first read Walden, even though I didn't know there was such a thing as a Unitarian Church until many years later. But maybe I really became a UU in 5th grade when my teacher, Mr. Dinkler, told my parents that he was having a hard time with me because I asked questions that he didn't even give the answers to yet. And it was annoying him. That's something I think we have in common. So here's a question. Where are the Indigenous people? Why do we, those of us who live in the East, and maybe some of us who live in the Midwest, have maybe never encountered an Indigenous person or a Native American person? It's a good place to start your research. You can learn about it by studying history, but to deeply, deeply incorporate the truth, that's a journey. That's a journey. This is, let's see, put it by the camera. This is my great grandmother. She may or may not have been a Cherokee Indian. My family is now calling me Elizabeth Warren because it didn't show up in my DNA, although family stories are very strongly indicate that she was. But this is something else. This is a broken arrowhead that we found right here on our farm. And the reason it's a big deal for me is the same reason that when I crossed the bridge in Selma, Alabama, I actually could see and touch, feel, experience the reality that Indigenous people lived right here where I'm living. And they lived and moved right where you are too, right where our church is and in all the places that we have our lives. If you continue with that journey, you may be overcome by the magnitude of the injustice. You'll see that it was genocide, and it still is. It continues. You'll want to help, again, because you are a Unitarian Universalist, and that's what we do. We ask questions. We want to help. You want to fix. Whatever you do, don't stop. Don't turn away. Sustain the gaze, as the Buddhists say. Don't assuage your anxiety or your sadness by just giving money to what looks like a good cause or by having a discussion about it, although there's nothing wrong with having a discussion. That is what we UUs sometimes do instead of praying. Don't just pray. Learn what it means to be an accomplice as opposed to an ally. As you go deeper into the heart of the problem, you will learn that everything that is happening isn't awful. There is healing. There's justice, albeit long delayed. There's growing solidarity, and there is celebration. I've brought some of each to you today, and I'm also sharing the work and the words of 2 friends who have made great impact with little or no fanfare, just as individuals. To me, they embody the essence of accomplice in this struggle. The first one is Steve Pavey. He's a photographer who's worked closely with the Poor People's Campaign and has also worked in Palestine and with many Native groups, the Dakota Access Pipeline, Standing Rock, and the Apache, and many others. And then I'm going to share a conversation with you. And during this conversation, which is an audio conversation, I will share photos taken by Steve. The first set of photos will be of the events that Angela Arnett Garner and I are talking about she's another individual who made big changes happen. So here's our conversation. I'd like to let you tell everyone how you became interested in the affairs of Indigenous people and how you performed a minor Unitarian type miracle in 2013, I believe. And what
I was 13.
And what you've been doing since then.
Okay. I guess it started out when I was a child because I was raised a Unitarian Universalist in First Unitarian Universalist Church in Louisville. And so I was brought up around people who
So, Angela, it's good to be in touch with you again. And I have such great memories of meeting you and our time together. I'm glad to introduce you to the congregation. And I'd like to let you tell everyone how you became interested in the affairs of Indigenous people and how you performed a minor Unitarian type miracle in 2013, I believe. And what
I was 13.
And what you've been doing since then.
Okay. I guess it started out when I was a child because I was raised a Unitarian Universalist in First Unitarian Universalist Church in Louisville. And so I was brought up around people who valued activism and valued helping other people and valued diversity. And so it just went from there. And when I moved from Louisville down to Southern Kentucky, I realized that there was no highway markers, historical markers that represented the Native American story in this area, none in the county. And so I set about to change that. And I wrote a two-sided marker about Cherokees in Kentucky, one side about Chief Doublehead and the other about the Treaty of Sycamore Shoals. And I just, picked up the phone and called Rita Coolidge's agent, two-time Grammy winner Rita Coolidge, and asked her agent if she would consider helping me unveil the sign at the unveiling ceremony. And so she did, and on October the 19th of 2013, we unveiled the sign that's there on the courthouse lawn in downtown Stanford, Kentucky. And from there, I set about to bring Indigenous Peoples Day to Kentucky. And I was already familiar with the local officials in Stanford. So I approached the city council and the mayor with the idea of passing the first Indigenous Peoples Day proclamation in Kentucky history. And so that's what we did in September of 17. We passed the first one, and then I organized the first Indigenous Peoples Day ceremony there at the courthouse. I thought that that was appropriate because, we were seeking justice for the Native American community. So what better place to have the first Indigenous Peoples Day ceremony in Kentucky than at a courthouse? And so then the following year, I canvassed the state and talked with mayors and city councils across the state of Kentucky and tried to get them to consider passing additional proclamations for their towns. And I was able to get 22 additional proclamations passed, and that's more than any other state since the movement began, Indigenous Peoples Day movement in 1992 in California, one of which was Louisville. And so I've been the organizer for that event in Louisville at 4th Street Live ever since. And I hosted 3-time Grammy winner Bill Miller last year at the Indigenous Peoples Day event in Louisville. So I've been busy with that. And then just this year, we didn't have an event, obviously, because of the pandemic. But I've been in contact with the governor and his staff this year. And I told him, what had already been done in Kentucky. And I felt like that, Kentuckians were ready to see a statewide proclamation. And I submitted a proposal and kept in touch with staff. And then on October 12th, Indigenous Peoples Day this year, I was contacted, and they let me know that he had indeed passed the first statewide proclamation in Kentucky history. So that's kind of a synopsis of what I've been involved with on behalf of Indigenous peoples in Kentucky.
Yes, you make it sound easy. I just picked up the phone and I just canvassed. But how do you keep going when certainly you also probably got a lot of discouragement from people? I mean, what do you call upon within yourself? Do you have spiritual resources, or you just have a will to get things done, or is it your passion about it?
I'd say all of the above. My father was involved in politics, and he was a county attorney, a county judge, and he was a district judge, and he was close friends with A.B. Happy Chandler, and so I love retail politics. I love reaching out to people and trying to convince people that change is needed, that change is going to be better for the community. Mm-hmm. And I just love that sort of thing, and it runs in my blood. And then I'm just really passionate about it. I'm passionate about seeing social change and making people happy, and making things better for people. And so that's kind of where it comes from.
Indigenous Peoples Day is becoming more known, especially out west and in the Northwest, where still, where there are still tribes that are active. But I think a lot of us in the East and here in the Midwest, South, may not have really had personal experience with Indigenous people today. Even though I read that 26 states' names are Native American words, and Kentucky and Tennessee are two of those. And how rarely we think, how rarely we think about the issues that Indigenous people face. So beyond the, in what way will the Declaration of Indigenous Peoples Day and the historic markers and the celebration, in what way will they be a step toward justice? I mean, I think I know what I think, but how do you feel about that?
Well, I see it as more stepping stones. But the more, the longer laws exist, the more laws exist, the more proclamations that are passed, the more people accept it freely and are open to change. And it was fairly difficult to get the first proclamation passed in Stanford. And we had the first meeting set up, I believe, in August. And they tabled it because there was so much discussion in the room, and people that mistakenly thought that we were trying to erase history, that we were trying to take away something they thought was important in celebrating Columbus Day. And it took a while to turn them around to thinking the way, in a new way, and accepting that Indigenous Peoples Day it's a balance of the discussion, that we talk about colonialism and European exploration, but there's no harm in having balance. In fact, not only is there no harm, we owe that to our children to have a balance of the discussion, a whole story, the whole story of history, and not just part of it. And so, but after that moment when they turned around and began to see things from a different perspective, and we passed it, then, we had people that came from everywhere to that first Indigenous Peoples Day ceremony. We had people come as far away as Eastern Kentucky and Tennessee and Southern Indiana, and even one person that came from Washington, D.C. And so, the more you pass proclamations and the more laws that are enacted and so forth, each one is a stepping stone toward justice. And that's the way I see it. And I think, and then there's more. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think you exactly expressed it when you said, we want the children to see and hear all of the story. And things like these festivals, we see it with pride festivals and other organized events, that people become, they learn and they become familiar with folks, from different categories. And from that, they go forward and make big changes in the world. So
exactly.
Yeah. So here's the question.
And
go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Noah.
I was going to ask you what one of the things that I've become very aware of is that there's certain, taboos now about using or appropriating, rituals of Native people, and I fully understand that. But that we don't want that to keep us, sometimes liberals and UUs who are religious liberals, we're so afraid of doing or saying the wrong thing that we don't do anything. And I don't think that's helpful. So what have you learned along the way about working with Indigenous people, spotlighting the challenges, and at the same time honoring their sovereignty?
Well, I think it is very important to educate ourselves about the various rituals and the cultural practices of Native Americans, because I see a lot here in Kentucky. I see quite a bit of people trying to take a cultural practice and making and uh, 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 making it more consistent with their own culture or their own understanding. Uh, it's a form of ethnocentrism,
Uh-huh.
and basing their own understanding of whatever it is, and it's somehow lost. The native. Well, for instance, there's people that attend powwows,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of times you'll hear them refer to themselves as elders. And that really bothers me. And certainly it bothers Native Americans because there's a stringent process involved in becoming an elder. You don't just name yourself an elder. You don't become an elder. You're on your own. It's a very stringent and very involved process that people become elders, and I think that's unfortunate that people don't take the time to read about the culture enough to understand that that's a no-no. That's not appropriate. That sort of thing.
Yeah, that's good. Angela, I want to thank you on behalf of Unitarian Universalists, on behalf of our congregation and other Unitarian Universalists. I just feel that what you're doing is remarkable, and encourage you to continue with it and stay in touch. And I'm very grateful that you were able to join us today. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
All right.
And it's my passion, and I'm hoping that next year, whenever the pandemic wanes and it's once again safe to have another event, that I'm hoping that I can host an event, and the governor can attend and actually present a permanent proclamation. If he did, Kentucky would be the 15th state.
That's so great. And if we want to start one in Nashville, we'll know who to turn to for advice. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yes. Thanks. Thanks, Angela.
Thank you.
All right. So that was Angela, and she will be with us after the service to answer questions if you have any during the conversation. One reason it was an audio conversation rather than a video is that she doesn't have Wi-Fi. And something I want to say about Angela is she doesn't toot her own horn. She's very unassuming, and she doesn't make money off of all this. And same with Steve. You couldn't find a more quiet, unassuming guy. In fact, that photograph that was taken of him is rare. You almost never see him in any of the photographs. And he does almost all his work for free and just by donations that people give to help him out. And there is his website on the photographs, and I think it's in the chat, stevepavey.com, and you can browse through thousands of his amazing photographs of social justice movements that he has gone to. The reason we are having a discussion, or having discussion for you and with you if you stay after, about Indigenous people is that partly because it's the whole month of November, but it should be every day. And it is a spiritual problem. It's a problem that ought to be for all people, because whether we acknowledge it or just try to put it aside, which isn't hard to do, we don't see Indigenous people regularly. The spiritual problem isn't only the inherited guilt and sin, if you use that word sin, of Europeans. It's the trauma of Native people. And we're learning more and more about how guilt and trauma are epigenetic. And by that, I mean they're carried in the body and in the mind through generations, particularly trauma. And so much of what has happened on Native reservations is indicative of that. That's another topic. But it's this duality that, along with Christianity, especially the Pilgrim Puritan kind, which is from where Unitarians derive from Puritans, the dualism that has typified the American view of all things, this Christian dualism. What I mean by that is either something is good or it's bad or evil. And Indians, Native Americans, Indigenous people, First Nations people, they either had to be all good, generous, wise, noble, and proud. That's the image that gets played out over Thanksgiving, particularly. And you saw a little bit of it in those videos that were made to accompany the chants from our hymnal. Or they had to be demonic, almost like terrorists, attacking poor innocent settlers, scalping people, brutally murdering people, even cannibalizing innocent Europeans for sport. And why they did those things, they had a darn good reason to. But the reality about Native Americans lies somewhere in between. First of all, they're not a homogeneous group. There were many nations and many ways of being Native American. There's so many stereotypes about Native Americans today. They've become a force in the literary world. But for example, Sherman Alexie, who is one of the most well-known Native American authors, won a lot of prizes, became very famous. And just in the last couple of years, he became a target of the Me Too movement. And it turned out that he, like many other writers and famous people, was accused of a lot of inappropriate conduct and beyond that. So what I'm trying to say here is, as with all things, it's not either or. And we, as Unitarian Universalists, we are the people who can see things as not either or. We are the people who live with ambivalence. And that's one thing I've always loved about Unitarian Universalism. Our mission and our calling is living with uncertainty. We don't have to know for sure what God means, or if there is a God, or what happens after we die. We can live in the balance. We are the people who can be in the places in between, in the mystery, in those lands where we seek and find our spiritual home. We are the ones who can gaze upon tragedy with honesty and compassion. We are the ones who have resources. And I'm not just talking about money. We have talent, we have intellect, we have connections, both academic connections, political connections. We have buildings, we have land, we do have money, and we have willing volunteers. You will do your best as an accomplice rather than an ally. If you find your passion, it may not be Indigenous people, but find yours and follow it. Study, study, study. Join together with others who are legitimate folks doing this work. Keep learning. Use your resources, your talents. What are you good at? Be a part of the revolution, because revolution means change, and change for the better is what we do well. So be it. And now you're going to hear Rita Coolidge singing for us at that gathering. You'll see me over there. She sang Amazing Grace in Cherokee.
Une lana iu wichi iga guya hey na quo chosan we you lo say iga guya oh no I say no we une je you no do glena tali chilu chili udam neyo neja eloniga nali squadi galu chohan ili igadida edi gobi ane elo niga una danti dane yo do down Diona you chosen hanko ego iam doti wane hey chi waduh.
This ends the live stream portion of today's service. Our Zoom host will now turn off the YouTube link So thank you to those of you watching on YouTube. We'll see you next time.